Hey, this is Greg Willits from newevangelizers.com and the Catholics Next Door. Had a lot of people asking exactly how do you subscribe to a podcast or how do you listen to our podcast? A lot of people who used to listen to us on satellite radio, it was very easy because you could just click a button and you were listening, but using a podcast is a little bit different. So I'm going to show a couple different things. I'm going to show, number one, how you can listen directly from our website, and then I'm going to show you how to subscribe to the podcast in a couple different ways. So let's go to the Catholics Next Door website, which you can find at thecatholicsnextdoor.com or gregandjennifer.com. You can also get to the website by starting off at our New Evangelizers website and then jumping over here to the Catholics Next Door. Now, you'll see right on the main page, there's the two most recent episodes of the podcast. We'll just click on the most recent one. I just posted it today. The third one, we'll click on it here, and it takes you into the show notes for the for the podcast. So here's, what the show's about, listing it here. We tell you about our sponsor a little bit. We tell you about some, links that we mentioned, things that we talked about on the show. And then this episode's a little bit different, but because we have a contest going on, so there's this bit. But at the very bottom, you should always see on every posting this little arrow right there. That's the play button arrow. I'll show you the same thing as over here in last week's episode. And the same thing, here's the show notes. Right here, there's this play arrow. You click it, and as soon as you play it, it starts to play. Now, you may not be able to hear it because I don't know if I'm recording audio from the computer itself. But as soon as I click it, I can hear the audio begin to play. So it's really as simple as that. You can go to anywhere on our website, and you can click on, and this is on any of our sites, New Evangelizers, Rosary Army, and so forth, that may have other links elsewhere. You go in there, and if you see the little triangle, just click on the triangle, and right away it'll go back, and it will find that file, and it'll start to play the file. Okay, so that's very easy to listen to it from our website directly. Now, let me show you how you can subscribe to this via podcast or through iTunes or through RSS. I'm not going to get into the RSS very much because to do so would have to be explaining what RSS is. I don't know what your particular RSS reader might be. I happen to use Google Reader, and so, for example, I know that just now, right here, I subscribed to the Catholics Next Door, and by doing that, it's bolded right now because I have the new episode, and here's the play thing right here as well. The player shows up right in my RSS feeder. That's a little bit more complicated, and I don't want to get too much into that. I want to focus either on playing it from our website at thecatholicsnextdoor.com, or if you want to subscribe via iTunes. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to show you two different ways. If you use iTunes right now, or if you use something else like Zune or some other MP3 player, it'll be a similar thing, but this link on our website, subscribe via iTunes, will link directly to and open up iTunes. Same thing as if you click here on this show tab right here. It'll take you onto the description of our show, and it has a link directly to subscribe via iTunes or subscribe via RSS. The subscribe via iTunes will link directly to iTunes. But let's step back one step further, or one step back, because we don't want to take more than that. I'm going to click on iTunes here. I'm going to open it up, and we have iTunes opening up, and it's on the screen now, okay? I want to show you how to subscribe to not just our podcast, but any podcast that you want to go to. Now, here I am. I'm in iTunes, and it automatically went to the iTunes Music Store here. You see this link? iTunes Store, over on the left. I can go and I can look at my playlists and I can see what I have installed, but you're really concerned about this iTunes Store right here. From here, you see up on the top, it has music, movies, TV shows, App Store, books, and podcasts. Now, I'm going to show you how you can get to our show right away, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to use the podcast thing. All you have to do is go up into the search tab right up here. Right up here, make sure that you have iTunes Store selected over on the left, and here it will say Search Store. If you have your music selected, look here, it changed it. Search music. It's only going to be searching for what's on your computer. You have to make sure you have the iTunes Store selected, and it says Search Store. If you have that, then just type in Catholics Next Door, and then hit Enter. Just like this, it's going to go look at the iTunes Store, and right at the top, right away, it shows you our podcast, The Catholics Next Door. It shows you our old podcast, Rosary Army, which you can subscribe to that as well. You can right now click subscribe free, and it will automatically subscribe to that feed, and anytime there's a new episode, it will download it. Same thing here. If you want to click on Rosary Army Podcast, I'll go ahead and click on Rosary Army Podcast, even though I'm already subscribed. It'll say, are you sure you want to subscribe? Yes, I'm sure. I want to subscribe. Now, if you go over and look at your podcasts, you'll see that you have the show listed over here, and I already had it in here. And if you're subscribing to it for the first time, you'd have all these Get Now buttons. You can click Get Now if you want to download past episodes. Now, let's go back over into the iTunes store again, because, again, here I'm looking at my podcast that I have on my computer. Same thing for the Catholics Next Door. You would just click Subscribe Free. It says, are you sure? You say yes. You subscribe to it. And then you will have, over in your podcast list, you'll now have the Catholics Next Door listed right up here. The Catholics Next Door. And then you can click on, and here's something interesting. Because I'm subscribed, you see this right here, that little blue dot that tells me it's a new episode. I haven't listened to it. I just downloaded, and it did that automatically without me having to tell it to do that. So again, that's a very easy way to subscribe to a show, is simply by going into iTunes. Now, if that still seems too complicated, you can go back over to our website, and if you have iTunes installed, and you see the subscribe via iTunes button or tab link, and you click on that, it will automatically go out, and it asks you, here is the page listing over in iTunes. You can say view in iTunes. It'll say, do you want to launch this application? Yes. It'll launch iTunes. It'll go right to the page, and here it is, the Catholics Next Door. With all the files, you can subscribe to it right here, this big button, subscribe for free, and it automatically puts it on your computer, and you can find them all underneath this podcast link under your library. Now, let me while I'm here, let me go ahead and ask you, if you wouldn't mind, it is so helpful if you leave a review. Write a review. See that? If you write a review for our podcast, say something about the show. What is it that you enjoy? Because that really goes a long way to bringing in new listeners to the show, and we would just greatly appreciate that. So I'll throw that out there. Now, let's back up a little bit here, because I want to show you, I want you to benefit from podcasts. I want you to know about all the other podcasts that are available right now. So I'm gonna go back into the iTunes store, just the default iTunes store itself. Back to that home screen that we saw at the beginning. Up on the top, you see podcasts. You can click on podcasts, and it will take you to some of the things that they're recommending that you download. Go check out these different, BBC or whatever. But there's so much great content being done by people who are in love with the faith. A great way of finding these is a few different ways. You can click on this little arrow next to podcasts and go to religion and spirituality. Now, in the past few years since we started doing podcasts back in 2005, there have been a lot of different faiths doing these different kinds of shows. So you're not always going to find Catholic shows right in the very top part of new noteworthy listed right up there on the top. So what you're going to want to do is narrow down your search. Type in Catholic or Catholics, but if you type in Catholic, it'll bring up a search finding shows that should fall along those lines. Now, first it's going to show you iPhone apps and iPad apps. Scroll down here to podcasts and click See All. It will bring up just tons of shows. There's our good friend Father Roderick. You can click on his show. Just say subscribe for free. Another good friend of ours, Father Seraphim Bishoner. Click on his show. Just click on subscribe for free. You can grab the old Rosary Army one. You can grab EWTN's library. You can Father Jay Finelli's. And here is the Catholics Next Door podcast. There's our video series, that Catholic show. You just go through and find shows. Here's our good friends Mac and Catherine. You can click subscribe for free on all these. And then you're going to have access to so much great content. And I don't want to minimize any of these others that are out there. Those are ones I'm very familiar with that you can go out. And here's a series that we did of natural family planning years ago. That's still available. You can download those files. So again, just lots of great. Here's another podcast that we did. We launched this one for the Archdiocese of Atlanta several years ago. You can search around, find things that apply to your interests, and hopefully that is some help to you on how you can subscribe to podcasts, get some great content. Take care.